When did you first take alternative funding?
It was September of 2023. Felt like I could trust the person. I felt like they were in my corner.
It sounded like it went sour. How did it get sour?
So we stacked all the MCAs together. That absolutely destroyed me. The broker just disappeared on me.
So company name changed, his name changed.
Yes.
What stood the same? I'm sitting down with Zach Bailey, the owner of Foxtail. It's a blueprints company. He's going to share his experience with the merchant cash advance and a stacking scam that happens often in the industry. So how did you get into the blueprints industry?
So back in like 2017, 2018, I started working for another design firm, decided in 2022 I could do it better myself. So I started my own company, designing houses, commercial buildings, and all sorts of other things. And it kind of took off from there.
When you started, did you have experience or you just jumped into opening up your own company?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had experience in the industry. Owning my own company, I had zero experience, but in terms of industrial knowledge and, you know, what I needed to know to be able to accomplish everything, I definitely had the experience.
What gave you the courage to go and start your own business?
I was tired of making millions of dollars in sales and getting paid peanuts. That's it, plain and simple.
You want to do it for yourself?
Yeah, I wanted to make more money. Yep.
When you first started up, what was the adversity in the beginning?
Oh, it was bootstrapped from day one, so it was difficult. Like, I did not seek out investments or anything like that. So it was literally like trying to basically get a job, take that money, and pay someone to do the job, and then not take that money that was left over, the profit, and put it in my pocket. I had to put it back into the next job and keep doing that over and over and over again until we eventually like built up our capital that we had.
When you were hiring people, how difficult was that?
So at first, it wasn't too difficult. I started out with a business model of everyone's going to be a 1099 subcontractor, and they're going to tell me what they want for that individual project. I give them their fee, and then I charge a premium on top of that to get the project done and manage everything.
Okay.
It was working really well, and then my former business partner decided that we needed to grow the company and have W-2 employees, and that's kind of when everything started to fall apart.
How so?
The overhead was just too much, and that kind of led us into looking for alternative funding, which is how I went down this whole stupid path to begin with.
When did you first take alternative funding?
So I made the mistake of typing my email address or my phone number and email address into a website, probably like July of 2023. And the phone calls just started. It was insane. I was getting 50 plus phone calls a day from various people saying that they could give me money and all this other sorts of stuff. And I'm like, God, there's gotta be a better way to do it. So I just like started researching the companies that were calling me, and then I picked one out and called them back. And the first time I ended up taking money was, it was September of 2023. Okay. And it was from this little, now that I know a little bit more about the industry, it was a little brokerage. It wasn't the actual investor behind that was providing the money. It was this little shop out of Saratoga Springs, New York, and I took a $30,000, what I thought was a loan from them because they didn't explain it very well, and then I ended up paying them back like 45 grand.
How did they explain it to you?
They basically said that it was like a loan, but not really a loan, and they told me that basically what they're gonna do is they will drop all this money in my account within 24 hours, and then every Thursday I would be responsible for paying back this set amount. I think it was like $1,200 on that first one. And every Thursday for 6 months, I had to pay back, or maybe it was even 9 months. I can't remember at this point. But every Thursday I had to pay back that $1,200. And it was whether I had the money in my account or not, they would drain it and make it go negative if I didn't have the money in my account. So that's how that all started.
When you took the initial $30K in 2023, what did you use it for?
Payroll. We were going through like a lull in our business. There was like 2-3 months where things were really, really slow, and we had just hired all these W-2 employees, and rather than immediately turn around and lay them off and let them go, we decided to take a bridge to try and just get to the point of the year where we would be able to make that money up and be able to pay everybody and pay off the loan.
That first merchant cash advance that you took,
yeah.
How was your payment with it? How did you like the process, actually? Because you researched the company.
Yeah. So I was kind of really hesitant the whole time, even when I did sign the documents and get the money, because there was obviously, bad reviews and good reviews. just the way the industry is. You know, some people are shady, some people are honest, but I mean, they made it very easy, and they kept calling me about 6 weeks in, asking me if I wanted to refi the loan and get more money. I'm like, no, I'm okay. But yeah, they made it they made it almost too easy to get the money, where it led to me getting more just from different sources later on.
When you got more from different sources later on, was it from people that were calling you, or was it from the original source that got you the 30K?
So I ended up not liking the original source, because after I paid them off, they tried to pull some sort of scammy type stuff on me and make me pay them like another like $5,000 or something like that. So I was getting, 50 plus phone calls a day from all these people. So one time I actually picked up and I was like, all right, give me your best pitch. Like, what can you actually offer me that's different? And from that point on, I used that one broker that we both know. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's when everything started to unravel. The second that I took money from that one broker.
When you took money from that first broker, initially when you were working with them, how was the experience?
Oh, it was great. I felt like I could trust the person. I felt like they were in my corner. I felt like they were truly trying to help my business succeed. They would answer my calls or texts at any time, at any point in the day or night. And, they even helped me through the process of getting an SBA loan. So I thought that they were actually a good, genuine person. But, things happen.
So you said through the process of getting an SBA loan.
Yeah.
Did you get the SBA loan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what happened from this broker, providing you merchant cash advances, getting the SBA loan? How did it sounds like it went sour. How did it get sour?
Yeah, so basically what happened was the first time we did, obviously you know what it is, it's called stacking. So we stacked all the MCAs together, and then I didn't realize that this was a bad thing, but then he got me a reverse, and that absolutely destroyed me. And I almost didn't make it to the SBA loan because of that, because the reverse wiped out all the other debt, but there was so much debt on the reverse that it absolutely freaking killed me. But after I got the SBA loan and everything was wiped out, we went through a slightly hard time where I was buying out my old business partner, and unfortunately I went back to the well. He convinced me to go back to the well and said, hey, everything will be fine. They have new SBA programs, and we can get you, a new one of these loans through the government and bail you out of any MCA debt that you take on. Little did I know. I tried to research the best I could, but obviously thousands upon thousands of pages to figure out what's actually going on with the government and SBA loans and stuff. But yeah, I took him for his word because I thought he was trustworthy. And once we actually applied, they kind of basically laughed and were like, no, you don't qualify. It's been too long. You weren't supposed to take any MCA debt after the first SBA loan, and we're not going to do anything.
So the reason they declined you is because you took on
additional MCA debt after the first round of funding.
Okay. And after that, when you weren't able to get an SBA, what happened?
The broker just disappeared on me. Like, couldn't get a hold of him. And then 6 months went by, and then he finally reached out and basically said he was sorry, and then still never heard from him again. And I got left with a mountain of debt and looking at bankruptcy and stuff like that.
Okay. So before the SBA, were you given merchant cash advances? What happened there?
Before the SBA?
Yeah. The second SBA that you were declined.
The second SBA I was declined, yeah. He convinced me to take on more merchant cash advances, and I kind of caught on to things being sketchy when he suggested doing a reverse again, and I never approved a reverse or asked for it, and then the money just got dropped in my account.
What do you mean?
Like, I didn't want the reverse, and I just got random money in my account, and then money started coming out of my account again. Like, I got screwed.
Did you sign the document, or did he sign the document on your behalf?
I don't know who signed. I think he might have signed the document on my behalf. I don't really know, but I know I didn't sign a document for that money.
So you got a reverse. So I just want to make sure you wanted to go for another SBA.
Correct.
He said, take on these merchant cash advances.
Yes.
And then a reverse came into your account, and you didn't sign the document for the reverse. Okay. And when you took on all of this new merchant cash advance debt,
Yeah.
what was the reason?
He told me that I needed to have debt on the books in order to get the SBA loan. And if I didn't have debt on the books, then SBA wouldn't approve it because I didn't have a good business reason for it. So unfortunately, I took him at his word, and everything kind of just unraveled.
When he called you up and he said, "I'm sorry," what did he say he was sorry for?
Oh, it wasn't even a call. It was just a text.
Okay.
Yeah, like couldn't even, man up and give me a phone call. It was just a text, "I'm sorry."
That's it.
Yeah. It said he went through some difficult things in his life or blah, 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 blah. And basically was just completely bailing, not offering to help fix anything that he caused. And I'm stuck here still holding the bag.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a minute. Yeah, I didn't know some of these parts.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
It happened with Deck too. I never signed a document with them.
So when deck funded you after the so you got deck funding after the SBA?
Yes, because stuff came through 2024, like November. Yeah, because I was hunting for a line of credit, and that broker told me that they could get me a line of credit, and I just got a random random approval from and had a $25,000 line of credit.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know how I got this. I didn't officially apply. And the broker just said that he made it happen.
Okay. So did he have access to your emails?
Not my email, but my personal information for sure, because he helped me get the SBA loan, so he had all my personal details.
Okay. So it sounds like they signed the document for and the reverse. And you're holding the debt from the merchant cash advances, including the reverse consolidation.
Yeah, the reverse consolidation's almost paid off. I have like $1,500 left to go on it or something like that. But yeah, they sued me, so I am paying them $1,500 a month right now or something like that, just to stay out of court.
Did the broker ever explain why he did what he did?
No. I mean, looking back on it, he thought I was a cash cow and he was just making money off me more than likely. But in terms of like why I got treated like that, no, I got no explanation.
So in the beginning, you took the funding for payroll. That was the
Yes.
$30K.
Yes.
When you started taking funding after that,
Yeah.
what was the reason you started taking the funding?
I was trying to make a big marketing push. So we paid for some trade shows. We paid for a bunch of like 3D renderings and visualizations and stuff of some of the things that we were doing so that we could post it on Facebook and social media and on the website and all these other spots, and just to try and drive business because we were doing really well, and we thought if we added some more fuel to the fire, we'd do even better. But it ended up being that we took too much money, couldn't keep up with the payments, and it killed the business.
We got introduced in February of 2024.
Correct.
Okay. Why did you take a merchant cash advance from me?
You were the first honest person I had talked to. You told me what to expect. You made sure I could actually afford it. And you just seemed like an actually genuine person overall.
Appreciate that. I want to know, what would you tell another business owner who's being contacted by brokers? Because they're going to continue to call business owners. What's something that they should be aware of when being contacted, if the broker is good or bad?
Read the fine print. Like when they send you that contract, read the fine print. Take the time, read the whole thing. Don't just click through it and sign it. Check what the fees are. I mean, there's one time I took an MCA and it was for like, I don't know, 25 grand. I only ended up netting like 16 or 17 of it because of the fees. I mean, check that. If they say anything about stacking or reversing, run away. And then, I mean, good ones like you have a real conversation with me and be like, hey, can you afford the payments and when can you pay this back by? Like if they don't have a frank conversation with you, they're probably just trying to line their pockets. Because, I mean, past couple times I took money from you, it was, I had a set date where I knew I was going to get that money and I could pay you back right away. So unless you can know when you're going to have money coming in to pay it off, don't take it because they will just keep taking money from you over and over and over again.
What's something that funders like myself can do better when talking to a business owner?
I think you do a pretty good job of explaining the way that the MCA works, that, it is not a loan, it is a cash advance. So, I mean, I think one way to explain it better, like some people don't even understand like what cash advance is. Like, but everybody knows what going to one of the cash advance stores is, and showing them what your paycheck's going to be and getting an upfront advance, and you got to pay them back more later. Like, I think if people in the industry would explain merchant cash advances like that a little bit more, maybe people wouldn't get in such bad holes with them in terms of, having way too much debt.
What would you like to see differently in the merchant cash advance industry?
I'd like to see a little more regulation, and, truth and honesty and transparency. I mean, they all say that they're going to be truthful with you and honest, and they're going to be transparent about what's going on with your deal. But at the end of the day, it's all smoke and mirrors, and then you get hit with these giant payments that just kill your business. So I would love to see some sort of regulation around what you guys are allowed to do versus what you're not allowed to do and stuff like that. I mean, in like real estate and other lending and stuff like that, they have things that protect the consumers, like the Truth in Lending Act and stuff like that. If there was some sort of regulation around the MCA industry where, things had to be fully disclosed, then I think that would be very beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. There's little to no regulation. And you mentioned real estate, you need a license.
Yeah.
In merchant cash advance, you don't need a license.
Yeah.
You can just start dialing. Yeah, I'm like digesting at the same time a lot of things you're telling me, because I spoke to you a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought I had like a full scope of everything.
No, there's a lot of shit that happened, for lack of a better term.
Is there more things I don't know about that happened in the whole situation?
That broker helped me get a car loan one time, told me he put it in my business name, and then I found out that it was in my personal name, and they also made me pay them $3,500 for securing the car loan for me.
So they didn't actually put it in your business name?
No.
It was
on my it was in my personal name. When I got the paperwork from the bank that they used, it was in my personal name, not my business.
And it's still in your personal name?
I got rid of that truck a while ago, but
okay.
Yeah, it was never in my business name.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also promised me that they would help me refi my house in Florida like many, many times. That never happened. All smoke and mirrors.
Well, you said you did research, and it's pretty difficult. Even I know this, to do research on merchant cash advance, funders, brokers, even how the rules are in the industry.
Yeah.
How did you research in the beginning?
So initially, like the first company that funded me, they had like a website and stuff like that. And I did a Google Map search of their company. And then I found there was hundreds upon hundreds of reviews of that company. And they were like, mixed bag, 50-50, good, bad. But the ones I looked at, like the most recent ones from like the past 6 months, and I noticed that there's a good trend going on. So I felt like, okay, if we have to do this, at least this company has been doing some non-shady things for the past 6 months. So that's why I went with those people. But that one particular broker that I was working with, he was really hard to track down. I eventually did, found him on LinkedIn and a few other places. But I mean, they changed their names. That's another thing to watch out for, because these guys, one week they'll be going by one name, another week it's another name. Like, so they changed his name, they changed the company name. Like, it was hard to figure out what was going on, but I eventually tracked them down. And if I ever decide to do anything about it, I know where to go.
So he changed his name.
Yep.
Did the company name change as well?
Yes.
So company name changed, his name changed.
Yes.
What stood the same?
Their offers of money.
Stood the same?
Yes. That's the only thing that stayed the same. Them offering money in shady ways.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, nothing else everything else kept changing.
So last thing I want to know with you is, in hindsight, going back to 2023 when you first took the first merchant cash advance, what would you tell yourself about taking this type of funding?
I would tell myself to turn around and run for the hills. I mean, I would have much rather have had a hard conversation with my employees and told them that we either weren't going to have payroll for a few months or I was going to have to lay them off. And that would have been a far superior solution compared to, the past like 3 years of all these loans and all this debt and all the stress that it's caused. I mean, I didn't have a gray hair on my head before all this started, but look.
Coming in.
I got grays on the side of my head now.
What do you think is the right way to use a merchant cash advance?
I think there's only one right way to use it. if you are in a bind, but let's say, so let's do a hypothetical. You're in a bind, you're like working on a project of some sorts, and you know in 2 weeks you're going to get this lump sum payment from one of your customers, but you don't have money to make it from point A to point B where you get that lump sum payment. That is like the only scenario in my mind where it's okay to do it. Where you know you're going to 100% have the funds to pay it off within a couple of weeks, so that way you can take advantage of the early payoffs, because once you get past those early payoffs, they don't like to negotiate and you're just stuck paying it until the end of the payment schedule.
It's actually coincidental you bring that up, like 1 to 2 weeks, because I noticed with a lot of business owners I spoke to, now we're doing like extreme early payoffs in the first 2 weeks where it's 10% and below.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys, like you just described, they only need the money for 1 to 2 weeks to get to that B point for May.
Yep.
And then they don't need to pay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. They
Yep.
could just get it off their books. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we took that into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother.
And that's probably the only scenario I would ever advise someone to take it.
Is there anything else you want to let people know about your scenario with merchant cash advances?
Just be very careful before you take one. Really, really do your research, understand how the industry works. And if you don't have an honest person sitting across the table from you, run away. I mean, you're probably the only honest person I've met in the entire industry. And I've talked to hundreds upon hundreds of people, because I get all those phone calls every day.
Yeah, it's a lot. And
Yeah.
I try. That's why I'm willing to sit down and meet people and let people
Yeah.
know the full amount, because I know how it is. Being a part of this industry, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I know how it is.
Yep.
And if I can do my part to clean it up, I'm happy with that.
Yep.
But yeah, appreciate you
definitely
coming
do it.
out here, brother.
Thanks, man.